buddhi-yukto jahātīha ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte tasmād yogāya yujyasva yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam.
A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
Commentary by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada of Gaudiya Sampradaya. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Shri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. Commentary by Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur of Gaudiya Sampradaya. Therefore, endeavor for the yoga as described here. Between all actions done with or without desire, action performed with indifference to results, yoga is a skill, kauśalam. Commentary by Sri Ramanujacharya of Sri Sampradaya. He who is established in evenness of mind in the performance of actions, relinquishes good and evil karmas which have accumulated from time immemorial, causing bondage endlessly. Therefore, acquire this aforesaid evenness of mind, buddhi-yoga. Yoga is skill in action. That is, this evenness of mind when one is engaged in action, is possible through great skill. Commentary by Sri Sridhara Swami of Rudra Sampradaya. But one who is engaged in actions performed in spiritual intelligence is superior. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, one acting in this way is relieved of both good actions which leads to heaven and evil actions which lead to hell even in this very life. Therefore, verily one should always engage oneself in the sacred science of one's individual consciousness, attaining communion with the ultimate consciousness by consecrating in righteousness all activities unto the Supreme Lord for this. This is known as karma yoga. Because this sacred science is the actual skill in performing all activities, is the formula for righteous actions which turns even ordinary activities that normally lead to bondage into the means of liberation by offering them in righteousness unto the Supreme Lord Krishna. Commentary by Sri Mandvacharya of Brahma Sampradaya. Lord Krishna speaks of directing one's consciousness by spiritual intelligence. The merits one gains in the course of human existence, such as fame, relations, power, and wealth, though pleasant, should not be deemed important or be attached to. But those superior merits one has acquired by surrender and meditation to the Supreme Lord, such as righteousness, compassion for all living entities, devotion, and love of God, should be most attached to. For one whose consciousness is situated in the ignorance of nescience, whatever sacrifice, charity, penance, or austerity one performs even for thousands of years are to no avail and bequeath no benefit. This has been well delineated in many Vedic scriptures. Hence it is clearly to be understood that the ignorant do not gain anything spiritual by their actions. Vedic scriptures reveal that both merits and demerits are destroyed if actions are performed in unfavorable circumstances. If merit gets destroyed as well, it is always detrimental. But there is no possibility for destruction of any merit for one who is situated in spiritual intelligence, even if there is some remnant of desire present. If one completely liberated by the wisdom of spiritual intelligence happens to desire the realm of the ancestors, by his very wish they will be evoked before him. If this liberated one wishes to enter higher planetary systems or even the heavenly realms, by his wish it is accomplished. Objectives deemed impossible by relative perspectives, which the liberated self desires, manifests on its own accord due to the inherent potency acquired by uniting one's individual consciousness with the ultimate consciousness of the Supreme Lord and by receiving the power of the Supreme Lord's grace. It is not that one ever can lose their individual existence by uniting one's individual consciousness to the Supreme Lord's ultimate consciousness. The soul is always connected with the Supreme Lord, but those in the nescience of ignorance are unaware of the soul's existence. The difference between the Supreme Lord and all living entities is eternal, and thus the individual existence of all living entities is established as being different from the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord's activities are beyond the parameters of the material existence, indicating his eternal transcendental position, whereas all living entities in the material existence are subject to the cycle of birth and death. By the dissolution of all illusions, the reflection also ends, and any and all concepts of losing one's individual existence by merging immediately is terminated, as knowledge of the eternal difference between the Supreme Lord and all living entities is self-evident by self-realization. Such conceptions of merging are contrary to wisdom due to the distinct spiritual form of the Supreme Lord. Not even with imagination can it be suggested that an object reflected is at the same time united with its reflection, although one determines the other. Nor in the cessation of consciousness is there any evidence of merging of reflection and reflected. Otherwise, how would it be possible to experience the perception of the duality between the two? The misery of the material existence is definitely a reality. As long as the self is incarcerated within a physical body, this misery continues to be. Thus it can be understood that the self is also eternal. So the Supreme Lord and the self or soul are eternal, and other statements concerning this are either temporary or symbolic. Narada Muni has personally seen liberated souls different as separate individual beings from the Supreme Lord. The statements found of becoming one with the Lord are indicating that one attains the qualitative spiritual existence and association of the Supreme Lord. Different determinations are found to be stated due to different angels of vision. When a man and a woman are married, it is often said that they have become one, but does that mean they have each lost their separate individual existence? No, not at all. The proper rationale and analysis must be exercised when differentiation is seen in the statements of the scriptures, and by doing so the basic principle is strengthened. By proper understanding and rationalization alone can differentiation be harmonized. Like a river entering the ocean. It is all water, but the river maintains its own characteristics which are simultaneously one and different from the ocean. Yet even if in those instances where difference is not accepted, it still must be admitted that with the entry of the river the volume of the ocean has definitely increased and cannot be denied. The Supreme Lord can be likened unto the sea always open to receive, but because of the sea's immensity the total perception is restricted. Narada Muni has also gone on to declare that the Supreme Lord cannot be attained by even Brahma, Shiva and all the host of demigods. By such words Narada negates equality with the Supreme Lord. Similarly with the words Yatra Nanyat Pashyati, where nothing else is perceived even by such words, then deference and subservience to the Supreme Lord is always shown, or else how is known to be the Supreme? All these statements have been revealed to dispel illusion and clarify reality, and they have been deliberated and determined in various scriptures by powerful summations and profound summations. These statements should not be considered contradictory, as the demigods have temporal physical bodies. Although eternal spiritual beings also have their bodies, they are not temporal, being spiritually surcharged and being eternally devoid of limitations by the power of devotion to and the power of mercy from the Supreme Lord Krishna. Therefore, in the Narayana Shatakshar Kalpa, the 16 distinctive signs on the bodies of eternal spiritual beings is given. In normal parlance, due to their exalted nature, eternal spiritual beings are referred to as being beyond duality, beyond the influence of material nature, and transcendental to the material existence. Although material bodies are continuously perishing and returning to the elements, the bodies of the eternal spiritual beings do not perish, for they are neither dependent on creation or destruction. But due to the fact that externally they have similar forms that appear to be the same, words are used that describe them in terms that are comprehensible according to time and circumstances. When one hears of descriptions like dwellers of the spiritual worlds possess no bodies and senses sometimes used by Narada Muni, it should be understood that these spiritual beings possess no physical bodies and senses as we know of, but possess only spiritual bodies filled with spiritual senses and light and bliss. For eternal spiritual beings, this very state itself is the verification for mukti or liberation. What is the use of speaking more if liberation has not been achieved and Svetadvipa has not been attained? According to Vedic scriptures, one is not a yogi until one is liberated. Other forms of liberation are negated in the Aditya Purana. Even those demons terminated by Vasudev Krishna like Shishupal in the end finally get liberation, but to attain Svetadvipa special attributes are required. King Yudhishthira asked about liberation, and it was confirmed that the other 4 forms of liberation based on merging with the Lord have been rejected. Only similarity with the form of the Lord is the accepted form of liberation. Achieving liberation and acquiring a spiritual body, and through that body entering the abode of the Lord and lovingly interacting in one's eternal position with the Supreme Lord is understood to be liberation in similarity to Lord Krishna and not merging into him, as confirmed in the Narayana Shatakshar Kalpa. Therefore, by achieving liberation, all undesirable qualities are destroyed at the root, and all things antagonistic to spiritual development are terminated. Then, without misery, devoid of all pains and worries, deliverance, beyond sorrow, they go to the place where none returns beyond birth and death. These special statements found in the Vedic scriptures prove that those who become self-realized and achieve liberation do not perceive similarity with the Lord but realize an affinity with the Supreme Lord, and in the process, by the sole dissolution of their collective karma, they enjoy closeness with the Supreme Lord in uninterrupted bliss. Therefore, it is written in Vedic scriptures that after becoming so qualified, one enters the eternal spiritual worlds. Without fail of this there is no doubt. Hence all impurities are completely eradicated and separated from the eternal spirit soul of the liberated spiritual being. Even Brahma prays to attain that pure spiritual state according to his understanding. I desire to attain that supreme state of Brahman. O Supreme Brahman, Lord Krishna, Janardana. Thus Brahma and even Shiva duly pray for this supreme state. Such a state is not only the removal of all impurities, but also the natural condition of eternal bliss. There is nothing comparable to liberation from the material existence in the material worlds. Neither is there anything comparable to the experiences of this superior bliss once one has achieved liberation. This all-encompassing and all-pervading bliss transcends speech and is even not found within the mind. Thus it is established that the bliss accompanying liberation is superior to the bliss of Brahman. Thus become firmly attuned to equanimity by yoga, and getting wisdom perform those excellent actions solely as a matter of duty as offerings to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Knowledge of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and by that knowledge renouncing the fruits of one's actions, neutralizes the effects of one's actions and is known as excellent actions. Knowledge of the Supreme Lord Krishna is known as spiritual intelligence. Commentary by Sri Keshava Kashmiri of Kumara Sampradaya. After pointing out the defects of performing optional activities which are not essential, Lord Krishna extols the virtues of equanimity in that it neutralizes all reactions without a doubt, both positive and negative. Therefore, everyone should make a diligent endeavor to achieve this consciousness of equanimity. For one expertly engaged in actions which do not incur reactions on their path to attain liberation from the material existence and the ultimate truth is the highest skill. Commentary by Sri Adi Shankaracharya of Advait Sampradaya. Listen to the result that one possessed of the wisdom of equanimity attains by performing one's own duties, possessed of the wisdom of equanimity. Since one rejects here, in this world, both virtue and vice, righteousness and unrighteousness, through the purification of the mind and acquisition of knowledge, therefore devote yourself to karma, yoga, the wisdom of equanimity. For yoga is kauśalam, skillfulness in action. Skillfulness means the attitude of the skillful, the wisdom of equanimity with regard to one's success and failure while engaged in actions, karma, called one's own duties, swadharma, with the mind dedicated to God. That indeed is skillfulness which, through equanimity, makes actions that by their very nature bind give up their nature. Therefore, be you devoted to the wisdom of equanimity.